And good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome here as we get ready for the debut race of the debut series, the NNSCRA Almond Joy Series, and we are getting set here for 30 laps of racing at Daytona International Speedway. It's going to be an exciting one. Drivers that weren't necessarily able to make their way into the Hershey's Cup Series now having an opportunity to still battle for a championship, and we've got a big star-studded field here, 40 drivers ready to start the season off. One of them will start it off with a trip to victory lane. Starting on the pole position will be Joseph Romero in the number 87 DAP Toyota Camry, and alongside of him, the number 6 of Paul Minnick. Then you got Seth Cole and the 43 of Chris Dollerton making up row 2. And also, got a little side note here on the number 18. Now, when the signups began, that was the car of Matt Haas driving it. But Matt Haas, getting a charter over in the Hershey's Cup Series, vacates his Mobile Cup, his Almond Joy Series ride, and now that ride is going to be driven by Eric Hayden for this season. So, as we get ready to go here, it's going to be very interesting to see who is going to come out on top in this race. We've got a lot of drivers that are newcomers, a lot of drivers that are well known. Who's going to end up winning this race? Does track position really play a factor into the outcome of this race? We'll have to see in today's event. We got some drivers that actually took part in Hershey's Cup Series last season, not racing in Hershey's Cup Series this season, but they're in this series. Let's get the command.
Driver, start your engine!
And there's the command to fire them up, and a couple of drivers, just to name a few, that are not racing in Hershey's Cup Series this season, but are here in the Almond Joy Series, include the 3 of William Brock, the 5 of Grayson Acavito. You can also throw in the number 19, Jeremy Jones, James Qualls in the 27, DJ Curtis in the 33. A lot of drivers that are non-chartered rides in the Hershey's Cup Series over here as well. We know John Andrews is in this field, but he will actually be in the Daytona 500 because he qualified his way in, as will Ryan George in the number 85 in this field. So this will give them a little bit of an idea of maybe what to expect when the Daytona 500 rolls around. So this should be an interesting one. It's the first time since the recently retired Mobile One Cup Series that we've driven an Xfinity-type mod for a full season. The last time that we actually used an Xfinity-type mod on this channel was the NNSCRA 2 Hours of Le Mans. And I believe, if I remember correctly, it was actually with this very mod as well. So Joseph Romero and Paul Minnick, a couple of drivers that we have never seen before in NNSCRA competition, are on the front row for this race. A lot of young talent, a lot of seasoned veterans in this field. Who is going to come out on top? Who's going to start off the first race of the season with a victory? It'll be 30 laps of racing. These drivers will have to pit at least once. They cannot go the full 30 laps on one tank of fuel. And the Corvette pace car makes the left-hand turn onto pit road. And we are ready to go. The debut race of the debut season of the debut series of the Almond Joy Series is green. You could hear the engines starting to wind themselves up. These cars will not be up to full speed until they get pretty much around to turn number 3. They'll use the back straightaway to get the momentum. Outside line starting to kick in a little there. Paul Minnick trying to get the outside line going, and he will clear Romero for the lead. They're racing pretty hard behind him. They were all almost 3 wide at one point. Seth Cole started in 3rd. He's all the way back now to the 8th position. As Paul Minnick shows the way, Romero now slides into 2nd, just in front of Zachariah Hall. And coming off turn 4, the first lap of the day is going to be led by the number 6 out of Roush Fenway Racing. Paul Minnick starts off the season with a lap led. But they are racing really hard behind him. Romero in 2nd, right behind him. That's the number 25 of Angel Navarro, and then behind him you've got Davey Johnson in the John West Townley 05. And then pushing him is Colin Denton, the number 1 out of Junior Motorsports. A couple of Toyotas trying to work together to run down a Ford, and here we go, 3 wide. Denton puts Davey Johnson in the middle. Denton's got drafting help in the form of Brooke Allen. They are 3 wide. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least 7, no, 8 rows deep. And all this going on behind Paul Minnick, who's got to be loving seeing all this in his rearview mirror. Loving the fact he's not in it. Here comes Benny Watson up the inside line, sticking the 39 of Jesse Turner in the middle. He's got help from John Andrews. Of course, this is going to be a good showcase of being able to figure out just how competitive in the Daytona 500 John Andrews and Ryan George might be, as both those drivers managed to qualify their Hershey's Cup Series rides into the Daytona 500. And here comes Benny Watson now, looking for second place off of Colin Denton. He's got Caitlin Sang pushing him, and behind Sang you've got the 28 of Jay Jefferson. You got some stragglers there at the back. Probably expecting this thing's going to open up pretty soon and we could end up having a big wreck. But at the moment, the one guy that's loving the fact this is going green is Paul Minnick out in front. But now Sang moves to the middle line. Here comes Jay Jefferson on the bottom, getting help from Ryan George and also Jordan Lopez in the 51. Oh, and Jefferson might make a move here into 3. Can't do it, though, because Ryan George has a big head of steam up the inside line. I think if Jefferson had moved low, Ryan George had been able to push the 28 past the 6, but for now, Paul Minnick hangs on to the top position. And here comes Ryan George looking for the lead. Is he going to have any drafting help? Side by side to the line. Minnick by a splitter leads that lap, but still Ryan George hanging tough on that inside line. Question is, where's the drafting help going to come for either of these two? Looks like the inside line help might come from Chris Dollerton, and Ryan George does indeed complete the pass. First lead change of the day takes place here on lap 5. Ryan George to the front. Now side by side between a couple of Fords. Chris Dollerton on the inside, Paul Minnick on the outside. Minnick's got some drafting help in the form of Mitchell Carter. Inside line drafting help for Chris Dollerton in the form of Eric Hayden. Let's jump to the back, see about these stragglers that are running back there. And I apologize for the low frame rates. It's apparently this mod and this track. I've tried running a couple of test races trying to fix the issue, and it's just this mod. Apparently it's really tough on graphics. Got Cody Hagan here at the rear of the field in the 16 car. Also Nick Johnson in the 42 and Kev Shearer in the 14. Those drivers apparently expecting there's going to be a caution at some point or another in this race. As Ryan George continues to show the way, Eric Hayden was in second, but now he's got a challenge for that spot. Here comes Mitchell Carter for the position. Benny Watson's fought his way back up again to fourth, and he's bringing the 78 of Matt Delio along with him. Sorry about that. I had a bit of a hiccup there. Is also making his way up here is Kermika Jazin in the number 7. Haven't talked about him yet today. Battle still continues for second. Benny Watson down low. Mitchell Carter up high. Now the drafting help from Dalio goes to the high line. And Kermika Jazin is going to push Benny Watson to the second position. So now Watson sets his sights on reeling in Ryan George, but he may have company to his inside in 3. Here comes Jazin for the second position. Drafting help in the form of Jordan Lopez. Oh, and back there, it looked like they were starting to get into a 4-wide situation with Paul Minnick, and fortunately they settle it back out to 3-wide formation, as now, second place, firmly in control, Kermika Jazin, and now the battle's on for third place, Jay Jefferson to the inside of Jordan Lopez. So now, let's see what Jazin can do in trying to reel in Ryan George for the race lead. So far, we've only had one lead change. When Ryan George hustled away the lead from Paul Minnick back on lap 5. Since then, though, Ryan George has been out in front. So far, we've run a completion of 7.5 laps. We're about to complete our 8th lap under green flag conditions. Which means that more than likely, if the thing continues to stay green, green flag pit stops will be a huge deciding factor into potentially the winner of this race, as Jay Jefferson now moves to second. Paul Minnick trying to take that spot, not going to be able to do it this time. He's got Caitlin Sang right behind him, and now Minnick will move to the outside line. Remember, Minnick got the lead from the pole sitter of this race using the outside line through turns 1 and 2. As Chris Dollerton trying to move up the inside line. No drafting help there for Minnick. He now drops back to about the 7th position. And here comes Caitlin Sang to the inside of Jay Jefferson for the 2nd spot. Chris Dollerton on the inside line along with Jesse Turner. A couple of names I expected to see up at the front, haven't seen yet, and I see them kind of mired back in traffic, include the 20 of Jeffrey Finguy, the 11 of Nick Gunther, 62 of Jonathan Zorlin, and the 33 of DJ Curtis, but we may see them momentarily. They might be just biding their time. A couple of other drivers we haven't talked about. The 3 of William Brock, the 5 of Grayson Acabito, a couple of former Hershey's Cup Series drivers. As here comes a battle for the lead. Caitlin Sang with a big run down the back straightaway to the inside of Ryan George. Now the question is, can Sang get some drafting help? Might not need it. Might have Ryan George cleared off of 4. Tries to move up and indeed is clear. So second lead change of the day. 3rd different leader. Caitlin Sang will lead a lap and get a valuable bonus point. And Ryan George immediately with a crossover on the inside line. Drafting help from Kermika Jazin. Wants to take the lead right back. We'll have to see what happens down the back straightaway here, although I don't think it might make much of a difference because I think Ryan George has cleared Sang for the top position, and indeed that is the case. So Ryan George loses the lead in turn 4, takes it right back out of turn 1. And I'm starting to see a couple of drivers working their way up towards the front. I believe that is the number 93 of Richard Johnson, as well as the number 62 of Jonathan Zorlin. So a couple of drivers we haven't necessarily seen yet are starting to make their way up into the top 10. Johnson crossed the line last time by in 9th, Zorlin in 11th. But they're all chasing Ryan George, who's been out in front twice today. And you gotta wonder now what the strategy is going to be as far as when these drivers will all come to pit road. Now, I believe the fuel window is somewhere between 18 to 20 laps. So if they all came to pit road right now, they would be within their fuel window to make it the rest of the way. But I don't know how long these drivers are going to push it. Meanwhile, the battle on for second again. It's going to go 3 wide. Richard Johnson looking to the inside on both Kermika Jazin and Caitlin Sang. Is he going to have drafting help? Yes, he will. Chris Dollerton jumps down to offer some drafting help on that inside line. And we are 3 wide, several rows deep again here at Daytona. The racing has been really good from second place on back, but it seems like the leader always is able to open up a nice distance and control the draft, and we could have 3 wide going into 3 here again. Chris Dollerton with the help of Jordan Lopez. He'll go to the inside 3 wide on Richard Johnson. And Dollerton trying to clear off of 4. He will indeed do so. Now moves up to get the drafting help off the middle line. That may leave the door open now for Jordan Lopez down low, and indeed it does. Here comes Lopez with the help of Colin Denton. They continue to battle for the second position. That's only going to allow Ryan George to open up his lead, and oh my goodness, that was close. I thought Denton might turn Lopez. They almost were 4 wide for a second, but fortunately they settled it back out to 3 wide. And here comes Nick Gunther up the inside line, and here comes William Brock. Remember I talked about there were a couple of drivers we hadn't seen at the front yet. Well, now apparently it's go time for those drivers. Gunther in the 11, Brock in the 3. Jordan Lopez trying to get that inside line to push him up to the back bumper of Ryan George. And here comes Paul Minnick down to the inside line on Nick Gunther. That's for the third position. Right now, as they continue to battle amongst themselves for second, third, fourth on back, that's just allowing Ryan George to continue to enjoy a bit of a bubble space between himself and second place, as Paul Minnick now moves by for second. Now, keep in mind, it was Ryan George who passed Paul Minnick for the lead. Minnick, I think, wants the lead back. He got getting a nice run here down the back straightaway. Will he be able to make a move into 3? He is right there on the back bumper, knocking on the door. Oh, trouble! We got a wreck there in the middle of 3 and 4. The caution flag waves for the first time here today, halfway through this race. And Ryan George will lead him to the line under our first yellow of the day at Daytona. You knew it was going to happen. It was just a matter of time. And now it's time to find out what victims the Great American Speedway has claimed. Here's some of the stragglers there. This was what they definitely needed. One car is coming to pit road. That is Jonathan Zorlin in the 62. Don't know about Jonathan Rains in the 46, DJ Curtis in the 33. They may have been involved. I don't know. John Andrews back here. There is damage on the William Brock machine. A lot of damage on both the right front and right side of his machine. The rear end of the car backed up, and we're starting to run into each other back here. James Qualls, Chris Dollarton's got damage. Mike Becker, Colin Denton, Richard Johnson. We're looking at Mitchell Carter here. They stacked up here under pacing. Pole sitter Joseph Romero, I believe, has got some damage on the front of his car. I don't know about anybody else. Everybody else might be good to go. But we are under caution for the first time today, and now we're going to have to see if this is the perfect opportunity for these drivers to make the only pit stop of the day they'll need to. Will Ryan George come to pit road, and if so, is everybody else going to follow him? Does not look like Ryan George is going to come to pit road. This is very interesting. Why would you not come to pit road and pit under yellow and wait to pit under green? This does not make sense to me, but it's monkey see, monkey do. Ryan George stays out, and everybody else stays out with him. Let's take a look and see what put us under the caution for the first time here today at Daytona. This was going into turn 3. They were 3 wide, which really isn't unusual. I mean, they've been 3 wide all day long, but something apparently happens here. I'm wondering if they may try and make it 4 wide here. Watch the 52 of Mitchell Carter. Maybe try and stick it up there in between John Andrews and Jonathan Zorlin. That might be what causes this wreck. Watch right there. Yep, 52 gets into the right rear of the 44 of John Andrews, sends him up the racetrack right into Jonathan Zorlin and William Brock. Nowhere for any of them to go. Also some damage sustained, it looked like, by Colin Denton. I think is it Chris Dollarton back there? Yes, it is. Chris Dollarton back there got a piece of it as well. As did, I believe, Richard Johnson in the 93. And there's more contact there for Dollarton and Brock. And, oh boy, there's Seth Cole and Grayson Acavito down on the apron, just barely able to avoid. And I'll tell you who this was a big break for. There's Richard Johnson getting a slight contact with William Brock. This was a big break for a number of the drivers that had lost the draft. Some of these guys back here, including Rains and Curtis and Hagan, Johnson, and Shearer. This will bring them right back up into the lead pack. So we're under the caution for the first time today. About a total of 8 drivers getting collected in this incident, as they did attempt 4 wide. And apparently 3 wide's okay. 4 wide is an absolute no, especially in the middle of the corner. So let's head back now for the restart. We're going to have somewhere around 10 laps to go, I believe, when we go back green. And correct that, it will be 11 laps to go when we go back green flag racing here at Daytona. And the only thing I can think of is maybe why these drivers are not coming to pit road under caution is maybe they're going to try and clutch enough fuel here under pacing to make it the rest of the way, but they're only getting roughly about, I think it's 4 laps of pacing that they're able to clutch. So I don't think they can save enough to get to the end. Then again, you never know. So, as we get ready to go back to green flag racing, we do have some drivers out of the race, unfortunately, at this point, and they include Chris Dollerton, Mitchell Carter, William Brock, and Jonathan Zorlin for the drivers that sustained the most damage in that incident, as well as the stack-up afterwards. Ryan George is the race leader. Paul Minnick is in second. Third place is Jordan Lopez. Fourth place, how about Davey Johnson? Quite a comeback for that 05. We haven't really talked about him. And how about Jeffrey Finguy, now up in the fifth position? Sixth place is Cody Smart. Seventh place is Elijah Gordon. Eighth place is Kermika Jazin. Ninth, we haven't talked about today, Tyler Markle. And completing your top 10 is Angel Navarro. So there's at least 4 or 5 drivers we haven't even mentioned today that are restarting up inside the top 10. We'll restart with 11 laps to go. Can these drivers make it on fuel now, or will they have to pit within the final 10 laps of this race? Can anybody get by Ryan George now, and how long will it take for them to get the 3-wide racing formation again? Don't think it'll take that long. Green flag in the flagman's hands, and it's waving. We're back underway here at Daytona. We have had 3 different leaders today. You're looking at 2 of them as your top 2, Ryan George and Paul Minnick, as well as Caitlin Sang has taken a turn out in front today. Single file from about first on back to about the 11th position. Watch them start and fan out here on the back straightaway, though. There goes Minnick to the inside, Cody Smart down to the inside line. No drafting help, though, for Minnick. He'll have to tuck back in line in the second position. And here comes Davey Johnson to the inside of Lopez. That's for the third position. Jeffrey Finguy as well as Cody Smart starting to work their way up towards the front. And here's the battle on for second. Davey Johnson finds a way to the inside of Paul Minnick. Ryan George, he will be in the starting lineup for the Hershey's Cup Series Daytona 500. What a showcase he's putting on here, saying, hey, I can run with the big boys. And it'll be interesting to see if we'll see that number 91 Haas Automation Chevrolet up at the front of the field in the Hershey's Cup Series race, because Ryan George, he's showing he knows how to work the draft and keep his car out in front. He's been out in front twice today. Took the lead away first from Paul Minnick, and then he took away the lead from Caitlin Sang, and he has not looked back since. Minnick with a nice run there through 4. Trying to get the run down the front straightaway. Moves up to the high side, as does Jeffrey Finguy. Oh boy, Minnick's going to have a nice run. He might be able to make a move down here into turn 1. Will Minnick dive to the inside line? Not yet. They're 3 wide behind him. That is Matthew Dallio on the inside line there, 3 wide. And now Minnick might be able to make a move to the inside on Ryan George. He better hurry, because here comes Dallio with a big head of steam. Dallio's going to peek to the inside line for the second position off of Minnick, and not going to be able to get there yet. 3 wide behind him. There's Jazin getting caught up on the high side, starting to fall towards the back. Tyler Markle stuck in the middle. Angel Navarro heading that inside line with Caitlin Sang, and couldn't tell who that other car was that was just behind him. It might have been the 18. Yes, it was the 18 of Eric Hayden. Battle for second. Matt Dallio to the inside of Minnick, and again, the battle continues for second rather than for the lead. I think Minnick, that opportunity he had in the back straightaway to make a move, if he had made it then, that would have been his best shot, and I think he's going to pay for it now as he's getting freight trained. A lot of cars on the inside line not offering the drafting help, and here comes Caitlin Sang back to the inside line, trying to charge back to the front, taking the second position away from Matt Dallio and looking for more as she tries to tuck up to the back bumper of Ryan George. Jesse Turner now up here in the mix, along with Nick Gunther, Jay Jefferson, Benny Watson. They're all back up here in the fray. This could be very interesting heading into 1. Top 3, nose to tail. Here comes Caitlin Sang to the inside. Will she get any drafting help going into 1? So far, nobody down there helping. Here comes Matt Dallio, though, to the rescue. The top 2 up high, the top 2 down low. Which line's going to prevail going down the back straightaway, though? Sang moves up. Dalio moves up. They're so far dead even down the back straightaway. Looks like Ryan George with a bit of an advantage. Can he tuck down in front of Sang into 3? No, Sang is still there, hanging tough, trying to take the lead. 2 cars on the outside line, 4 cars on the inside line. The outside line hanging tough though, as now Paul Minnick jumps up high. Nick Gunther jumps up high, and they're 3 wide for the lead. Here comes Matt Dalio to the inside. Dalio to the bottom. In the middle, Caitlin Sang. Rim right on the high side is Ryan George with no friends. Move Matt Dalio to the lead. Jay Jefferson moving to second. Benny Watson going to try to move to third. The battle for the lead now heats up with about 5.5 laps to go. Here comes Benny Watson up the inside line. Help from Cody Smart. Jay Jefferson pushing the 78 out in front of Matthew Dalio. I think we could have pit stops going on here. Some drivers are moving up as if the drivers ahead of them indicated we're coming to pit lane. No, that's not the case. They just had a real stack up there heading into 3 apparently. A lot of drivers jumped up to that 4th groove right up against the outside line, including Sang and Turner. I don't understand that, but right now the top 2 have broken away. They are 3 wide for 3rd behind them, about 3-4 rows deep. Matt Dalio, Jay Jefferson, top 2 have broken away at the moment. And I think I just heard another car up ahead. That's a slower car of Richard Johnson. They will catch him before this race is over. This could be huge in the outcome of this race. The slower damaged machine of Richard Johnson, last car on the lead lap, is about less than a straightaway ahead of these leaders. And they will have 4 to go when they hit the stripe here. They will catch the 93 before the white flag waves. Matt Dalio trying to control the draft here. He's got Jay Jefferson as his wingman. Now he leaves him out to dry, jumps down low to stop the advances of Paul Minnick. 3 wide, Caitlin Sang, Jesse Turner, Nick Gunther. That's the battle for 4th. And they'll catch Richard Johnson here on the back straightaway. Where's Dalio going to go? He's blocked up, and he gets blocked. Paul Minnick moves to the front. Paul Minnick moves to the lead. As Matt Dalio did not maneuver his way around Richard Johnson very well. And now Nick Gunther will move into second. Angel Navarro to third. Lopez into 4th. Now it's going to be Jazen trying to take 5th from Dalio. But now, if you're Paul Minnick, you're all by yourself out in front. You could be a sitting duck. 3 laps to go. Can Minnick hang on? He led the first lap of this race. He sure wants to lead the last lap of this race, but I think the pack's going to reel him in pretty quickly. Nick Gunther leading the charge. And I think we may have another slower car up ahead. We got a couple. We got Colin Denton, Mike Becker, James Qualls. Will they get caught before this race is over? Here comes the pack, reeling in the Roush Fenway Ford of Paul Minnick. Kermika Jazen, Cody Smart. Here we go. Here comes Jazen to the inside. Help from the 22, side by side for the lead coming to the stripe. Lap led by, it was Jazen by a splitter. First lap of the day led by Kermika Jazen, but here comes Cody Smart for the lead to the inside. Oh, and they are gonna catch. They are gonna catch those 3 cars, I think. Well, maybe not. Maybe we'll get lucky. Next time by, it's the white flag, so maybe, just maybe, we'll dodge ourselves a bullet here with more slower traffic. But it's side by side for the lead. Cody Smart, Kermika Jazen. Here comes Jordan Lopez to the inside, 3 wide. Help from Nick Gunther. White flag displayed. This time, the battle is hot and heavy for the lead. Here comes Nick Gunther looking 3 wide at the stripe. White flag displayed. 1 more lap to go. Who's going to win this thing? There's about maybe 15, 16 cars in this lead pack, all with a chance of winning still. Gunther to the lead. Help from Jay Jefferson. Can Gunther hang on? Can Jefferson make a move? Gunther leads the way. Jefferson peels out of line to the inside. He's got drafting help. Here comes Matt Dalio. Big run up the inside line. 3 wide into 3. Matt Dalio with help from Caitlin Sang. out of 4. Will Sang be able to make a move on Dalio? Slower traffic ahead. Never mind. Sang peels out of line. Pulls alongside. Drag race to the stripe. Half a car length. Matt Dalio wins the inaugural Almond Joy Series race here at Daytona. Boy, they were having a tough time passing for the lead all the way up to about lap 15, but in the final 5 laps, it seemed nobody could hold on to the top position. And Matt Dalio is going to pick up the victory in the first Almond Joy Series race. We almost had slower traffic come into play. One more lap, and they would have played a huge factor into the outcome of this race. But fortunately, we went 1 lap shorter than that. And what a finish we had. Matt Dalio picks up the victory here today at Daytona by 32 1/1000ths over Caitlin Sang. What a start to the season. Davey Johnson will finish in 3rd. Eric Hayden will finish 4th. Jay Jefferson 5th. Jordan Lopez in 6th. Nick Gunther was the leader going into turn 1. He'll be 7th coming to the stripe. Paul Minnick, strong car today, will finish in 8th. 9th place, how about Brooke Allen? Really never talked about the zero car for much of this race. Finishes 9th, and Cody Smart will complete the top 10. As we look on down the remainder of the finishing results, we had 35 cars finish on the lead lap. Rick Johnson finished 1 lap down in 36th, and 4 drivers finished out of the race: Chris Dollerton, Mitchell Carter, William Brock, and Jonathan Zorland. So that is going to do it here from Daytona. What an unbelievable race, and looks like we're in for a pretty doggone good season. Hope you guys enjoyed today's race from Daytona. If you did, be sure to give us a video, like, subscribe to be part of the crew today. Next up, to cap off this race weekend, we have our 3rd annual running of the Great American Race Daytona 500 for the Hershey's Cup Series. And then next week, you will see the Almond Joy Series and Hershey's Cup Series. Pack it up and head to Rockingham, UK for both respective series' 2nd race of the season. Once again, I'm Seth Cole. Thanks for tuning in. We'll show you now your point standings heading into next week's race at Rockingham, UK, as you've been watching a production of the NNSCRA Offline Racing at its best.